Okay. Hey, Andy. What's up,
Hey,
Ricky?
what's up, guys?
Hey,
How are ya? So
Good. Welcome back.
we got some really cool stuff to dive into today. We're just get into it. The EasyFit challenge is something that's growing a little bit faster than we expected, really organically. And the best part of all this is the results have been amazing. It's super simple. People love it. And so in today's episode, we're going to talk to Ricky, who really dove in deep with the results that he saw with weight loss, leaning out, energy, habits, some food stuff. And we're going to be kicking out a blog post soon reviewing his experience in depth. But today's podcast, we're going to talk to Ricky about, what he thought of this challenge and maybe what it could do for others and go from there.
Yeah, and Josh, you said we're going to kick out that blog post soon. So is that not live yet?
It's live. I haven't promoted it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I did read that. And Ricky, what a tremendous write-up you had. And I mean, tremendous success too. Like what you did over those 4 weeks was incredible, but your breakdown of how the challenge went. And I mean, you tracked everything. You gave us a week by week of like your results and how the week went, how you felt, what you ate and all that stuff. Definitely, I encourage all of our listeners to go check out the comovement.com website and click on blog. And it should be one of the most recent blogs as of like this week.
Yep. And when this airs,
thank you.
It'll be live and promoted, so everyone will be able to find that very easy. So
awesome, cool.
So I guess the first thing that came to mind when thinking about Ricky talking about this challenge and your experiences, what attracted you to even do the challenge? Because you're a healthy guy, you're very squared away, very knowledgeable, but the 3 rules with the challenge, the fasting 24-hour period once a week for 4 weeks, or 2 16-hour periods per week for 4 weeks, the walking or running 10 miles, and for your liquids, only consuming water, black coffee, or tea. Those 3 rules. What attracted you to want to do this challenge?
Well, I would say the main reason was if I was going to try to promote something and put it out there for everyone else to try, I didn't want to do that without first trying it myself. And so that was the main motivation behind it initially. But as I was doing it, I really started to realize, and it kind of opened my eyes. A lot of the stuff from the podcast actually is what triggered what I thought we should kind of incorporate into there. And really, like, the walking was the biggest one for me, because I noticed that even though I work out 6 times a week, I'm not very active outside of that. And so it was a way to motivate me to, I guess, move more. And that is what really drew me to the challenge, I think, was trying to figure out ways to incorporate walking or moving more throughout the day. And so what really sparked that from me was actually whenever we were talking about what we do in a given day, or like a week, like what our workouts were for a week. And you guys were like, we kind of talked about how you guys train with your clients throughout the week. And I'm like, well, I don't actually do that. I kind of just sit around in front of a computer and stuff. So I was like, maybe I should try to move more. And so that's why I kind of added that in. And that's what I think really made the most difference.
That's a really useful point, because your situation is very similar to most people's. Most people do work desk jobs. Most people do, they're not in a gym like me and Josh might be, where we're moving with clients all day long. So, I think you have a very similar situation to most people who are listening to this who might be thinking about doing the challenge.
Yeah, so I think that would be the major benefit for most people. And then on top of that, I really think that fasting and getting over your hunger signals, like essentially, like most people just think, oh, I need to eat 3 times a day or I'm going to die. But we found out a lot of people from the challenge, really, once they tried a 24-hour fast, they thought it was really easy and they felt great.
That's one of the biggest things that I've been happy with hearing from clients who've been doing this, is with the fasting thing, how many of them were afraid to do it ahead of time and afterwards were shocked by how easy it was, to the point where they, you know, they kept it up for, you know, they're still doing it now, even after the challenge has ended, because they're like, oh, this is actually, it feels good and it's not as hard as I thought. That's a big eye opener for people. So it's a great kind of education piece that comes along with this. You do it once and you're like, oh, I can do this.
And it was really cool to hear the number of people that want to continue fasting or intermittent fasting, right? Maybe 24 up to 24 hours. But a lot of people said that they hit that even the 16-hour mark and felt great. And they saw a huge difference in energy and time saving with cooking and different things.
Yeah. Speaking of how many people want to continue, Josh, like I couldn't believe, you know, usually when there's some challenge, because there's a lot of challenges out there in the health and fitness world, like 30 days of this or 3 weeks of this or whatever. But a lot of times when those challenges come to an end, people are like, I'm glad that I did it. I got results maybe, or maybe not. But I'm glad that it's over. Now I can go back to doing what I used to do. And I'm blown away by how many people finished the 3 weeks or the 4 weeks of the EasyFit challenge. And they're like, when does the next one start? I can't wait to do it again. And we're starting again in July, like pretty much now. And everyone who did it the first time is on board to just jump right back in from there on, you know, for the next month.
Yeah, that was surprising because I think a lot of challenges out there aren't sustainable. And so, you know, you go, you know, you dive in and you hit it hard and you stay motivated for a period of time, but then there's not a lasting effect. You get the great stimulus up front, which is great, and you've accomplished something and it's all amazing, but there isn't a large takeaway with a lot of challenges long term. This we're seeing is changing lives in terms of habits, routine, confidence, wanting to, like, for myself, like one of the things was the walking piece, how the benefits I took away from just being in nature, the structure of setting that time aside to do it, you know, meditative, unplugged. And this is, you know, I'm outside doing things all the time, but just that piece alone was a big takeaway. But that's one of the things the EasyFit challenge separates from many other challenges, is that realistically, you could live the EasyFit challenge.
And that's the thing. As we know, the most important changes you can make are like lifestyle changes. You know, you can do any little trick you want to or any change you want for a short period of time, but it's the lifestyle and the habit and the behavioral changes that make the biggest difference in the long run. And yeah, you're right. Like these are 3 changes that you can make and just continue for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Ricky, with the walking, what was the biggest takeaway for that for you? I know it can be many different things, you know, physical, mental, you know, what did you enjoy or take away from that?
Well, I would say definitely the mental, because I did a lot of it by myself. You know, every once in a while I would walk with my wife, you know, and we would go to like our family's farm, or we would go to somewhere like a state park or something like that. And I really enjoyed those walks, like when I actually was able to get out in nature and wasn't just walking on a road or walking around a parking lot or something, because where I work is kind of like an industrial type area. So I tried to stay, you know, near some green while I was walking, but it wasn't always the case.
Sure.
And, but it was just, you know, whenever you're just so busy all the time and you're just constantly in front of your computer and you're looking up this, looking up that, writing this report, writing that, and you just keep getting bogged down, and you're still, some people will even work through their lunch. Like they'll just sit there, eat their lunch at their desk and continue to work. But just giving myself that like 30 minutes, because if you walk 2 miles a day, and even the slowest average pace is about 3 miles per hour, in 30 minutes, you can walk 2 miles. So if you walk, you know, let's say if you walk 2 miles a day, you're already at like 14 miles for the week. So you're already ahead.
Sure.
And if one of those days don't happen to work out, you don't have to really stress. So that was one important thing for me, was I was like, I'm going to try to get at least 2 miles a day, so that if something came up, if I had to do some sort of experiment or this or that, it was like, all right, I won't feel bad because I know I'll still hit my goal. But yeah, over time, I just enjoyed it so much that it was like, even after work, sometimes I want to go for a walk, or on the weekends, I took even longer walks just because, you know, I was used to it and I really enjoyed it.
And if we add up the total time spent walking for, say, the average person, for 10 miles would be what, 2.5 to 4 hours, right, a week. So that's quite a bit of self-care time. That's a lot of time spent, you know, breathing and moving, and you add that onto your normal routine of hopefully doing some other exercises. That's a big boost, and that's where, for me, that was an eye-opener, was doing another 2.5 to 4 hours a week of healthy exercise. That was huge. Huge. Yeah, that's really great.
Ricky, before we, just because we're at the start of the podcast still, can you just recap for us really quick, like what were your weight loss results from beginning to end?
Okay, so, you know, when I started, I was 181 pounds, and when I finished, I was 166 pounds.
So 15 pounds in 4 weeks.
15 pounds in 4 weeks, and I really thought I wasn't going to get more than 10.
And here's the neat thing is, you know, you did break down like how it went week to week. It's not like you lost 15 pounds in the first week and then just, you know, all water weight like some diets might do or something, and then just kind of stayed there. It was pretty consistent. It was like 5 pounds in the first week, then 3, then another 3, then another 3, like that sort of thing.
Yeah, it went something like, I think it was like 3.8 the first week, 4 point something the second week. Then the next 2 weeks after that, it was another 3 point something.
Yeah, so like your results weren't even slowing down, you know. So we're catching up with you here after doing it for 4 weeks, but if you keep going for 5, 6, 7, 8, like who knows, eventually it'll slow down.
Eventually would have to stop.
But the point is, it wasn't like just instant results and then just you plateau. Like it kept coming week after week.
Yeah, that's, you know, and that makes sense. I think both of us have talked about, you know, the number of calories burned, right, in a 10-mile walk. You know, I don't know how many that is, but it's more than sitting at your desk. You add that in there, and then you fast for that period, of whether it's the 2 16-hour days or the 124. That's a calorie deficit in most cases, especially the 24. So when you combine those, the calories definitely you're burning more and taking in less. So it's a recipe for success.
And so I think I talked about it on the last time that we did the EasyFit Challenge podcast, what my deficit actually was. And it was somewhere around like 700 calories a day that I was in a deficit versus, and that was another thing, was you don't have to do this on the challenge. Obviously, we don't restrict eating or anything like that during the challenge. But as an experiment, I wanted to eat what I was maintaining with before and see how effective the challenge was if I continued to eat what I was when I was 181 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I didn't like do some special diet or anything. I still ate essentially what I normally would eat.
Yeah, you still got your 2,400 a day, right? Which is your usual.
Yeah, it was something like 2,000. It was like 2,417 or something like that.
Yeah.
Wow, okay, so that's great. Wow, so your calories stayed the same.
Correct.
That is so great for people to hear that, because challenges and the diets, and this is part of being unsustainable, is because it's such a restriction. You didn't restrict anything.
Not only did you restrict, you even threw in like some cheat days and stuff, right?
I am human.
On your food log.
I am human, and I did have a couple cheat days. And, well, I don't say cheat days. I say cheat meals.
Yeah.
What were cheat meals, Ricky? Just throw out some for the listeners.
So it's important to note that on those days, I still ate everything. So I still ate my 2,400 calories. And then on top of that, I had the cheat meal.
Wow.
So don't think that I like just didn't eat and only ate that cheat meal that day. Like I actually ate both because I still wanted to make sure I was getting all my nutrients in. But I guess the first cheat meal, if I can remember correctly, like I've always said I have a weakness for ice cream. So after the first week of not eating ice cream, the second week I was like, I need ice cream. So I went to the local place, Zem's, which is one of my favorite ice cream places. And I had a small chocolate soft serve with rainbow sprinkles in a waffle cone. and which I normally get a little bit bigger than that, but we'll leave that. But I got a small one just to satisfy my craving. And then I had a chicken quesadilla and 2 tacos as well for my first cheat meal.
Wow.
Wow.
So it was probably around
15 pounds in a month. That's awesome.
Yeah. And so it wasn't like I was, starving myself during the challenge or anything.
No, but that is just so remarkable to hear that. Like, and I guess it's just the effectiveness of how the challenge is structured. But like, you ate the same amount of calories, but then on top of it, as you were eating before at 181 pounds, but then on top of that, you cheated here and there because
Twice. Yeah.
Twice. And twice in a month, that's a respectable, that's good. It's not like once a year, and you still lost and saw those results. Yeah. Yeah, that is great. With your, so if we move on to the liquids there, we make it really simple: water, black coffee, which I'll get to that in a second, or tea. For you, what did you consume all three, or was it mainly water? What did that look like?
I would say I consumed all three. I didn't drink too much tea on the diet. Okay. I've never been a huge fan of tea myself, but there were a couple times where I had some matcha tea.
Okay.
Yep.
And so I would say maybe
do you brew that, or do you get that as a powder?
I get it as a powder. Yep. So yeah, we just heat up water and just dump it in, mix it up.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I think I had it maybe 5 or 6 times, but I had black coffee every day. If you look at my diet on there, I said that I would have somewhere between 8 to 12 ounces of coffee a day. Because it went really well with the chocolate that Andy recommended.
Yeah.
So again, I'm taking tips from our conversations. So I'm listening at least.
Going back to the coffee thing, I heard from a large number of people what a transition it was for them to go with the creamer or the sugar to black. And it was actually a larger percentage of people than I thought, because I've always drinking black coffee. I didn't start drinking coffee until I was like 33, so I was a late adopter. But I started out black, and I've never changed that. But with a lot of people, they struggled with getting rid of that little bit of creamer or a little bit of sugar, which I guess makes a big difference.
It does.
Difference. For most people, their favorite part of their coffee drink is the creamer and the sugar. They love. There's so many different flavored creamers out there now, which most people buy. And the ones you get from the supermarket, or that you would get from like Starbucks or Dunkin' or whatever. They're just loaded with vegetable oils, which we know how bad that is for you. And then sugar on top of that is another problem too. And I think a lot of people are really addicted to their morning coffee, almost more so because they're addicted to the flavor and the sugar and all that.
Sugar.
It's like drinking a dessert,
I think I used to make it a dessert. Like I used to have coffee with my sugar, I think.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Because I would load it up. I think I liked my coffee white whenever I was, younger, when I first started drinking it. And then slowly I did have to make incremental changes. And because I realized, oh wait, I really don't like the cream, or I really don't like the milk in it, but I still like the sugar. So I would still add like a ton of sugar. And then slowly but surely I reduced the sugar. And eventually I got to a point where I just enjoy black coffee as long as it's a good quality coffee.
That's the same thing I had to go through, because the first time I started drinking coffee was about 20 years ago. And I was the same way. Like it was 5 packets of sugar and creamer and flavor. And I had to like wean myself off slowly. It became 4 packets of sugar, and then 3, and then 2. Like it was hard to make that transition to black coffee. But once you're finally there, I like it now. I mean, Josh, you like black coffee also. And now if I put sugar or creamer in, it tastes disgusting. But that's a hard thing to kind of like wean yourself down to. And I heard that too, Josh, that was a challenge for a lot of people on this, and kind of an eye opener to them.
Yeah, for sure. But they made the transition a lot.
Yeah, they did. And what benefits you get when you do that?
Yeah, the other thing too is what's interesting is making the transition, going off of the sugar or the creamer. Your fast can continue with the black coffee.
Right.
Like if someone's having a coffee at 6:30 in the morning with one creamer, they broke their fast.
You're not fasting anymore. That's right. Yep. You're not mobilizing fats off your body because you're putting them in your digestive tract with the creamer. Yep.
Yes. And so if you're not eating breakfast till say 10 o'clock and you had your coffee at 6 or 6:30, now you're getting that additional benefit of the 4 hours of a true fast. That's huge. When you multiply that by 7 days in a week, you know, yeah, so that was a neat epiphany there with that for a lot of people. Yeah.
I was going to ask you, Ricky, out of the 3 components of the challenge, which one you thought gave you the biggest results? And I think for you, you were thinking it was probably the walking. Okay. Because I've been talking to a lot of people about the challenge, and it really seems to me all 3 pieces are super powerful. And I think like which one gives people the most benefit is really very individual to that person. And it's probably the thing that you weren't doing before. So if you're someone who snacks all day long and has a problem overeating and stuff, then maybe the fasting is going to give you the biggest benefit. Some of my clients already walk. They're walkers. They've been doing that for forever. So walking 10 miles a week was what they've always been doing, you know? Whereas you haven't been walking. So that gave you the biggest benefit.
Right. Yeah. And I agree with that, Andy. I think it's what you're currently not doing that's going to make the biggest change. If you're doing all these things, great, good for you, because you probably have really good results already. But the really, I think I would say the fast, giving people the mentality that they don't need to eat all the time was a big one. And then I would say that the liquids was actually probably the biggest game changer for most people. Because I mean, people, you know, you wouldn't be drinking alcohol, you wouldn't be drinking sodas all the time. Like I used to drink sodas all the time. So I know that that's probably what a lot of other people are doing.
Yeah. See, that's the one that would be the least of a change for me, because I only drink water and green tea and black coffee. Those are the only things that I've drank for forever. So for me, that wasn't even a change. Like for me, it would probably be the walking or the fasting if I'm not fasting, you know, because those are the things that I'm not really doing as much right now. It's kind of cool that we have these 3 components to this challenge, and they're all incredibly powerful. And depending on the person, one is going to be more beneficial than the other. But the synergy of the 3 of them is where the real magic is. Yeah.
And it's like, and you can do all of these pretty much effortlessly. You know, there's a way to add all of these into your life, and they're all free.
Yeah.
Like, or you even save money. So it's not like there's anything that you don't have. I mean, I guess unless you have to buy walking shoes or whatever, but I guess that'd be the only cost.
Yeah. You know, with the liquids there, I know we had mentioned the coffee there, but I was blown away with the alcohol.
Yep.
Like out of the whole challenge, to me, that was the biggest eye-opener with how many people need the 1, 2, or 3 drinks a night to settle down, decompress, take the edge off. You know, you hear all these different ways they want to frame it. Or they're at a wedding or a party or this or that, and they can't say no, or they feel pressured. I was amazed at the number of people that quit the challenge or continued to do the challenge but slipped here or there with alcohol.
Yeah.
And to me, like Andy, you said the easiest part was the liquid part. It was for me too.
Right, same.
But I don't know, like I'm gonna, I'll just throw it out there, but like I think there's like some kind of psychology piece there with the alcohol. Like if you need alcohol to take the edge off or settle down or fit in, I don't know, I'd be looking at your lifestyle. Like, and I won't go life coaching mode here, but like, that you're not addicted to alcohol from a perspective of like
alcoholism,
right? You're not an alcoholic, or not yet, but the piece of fitting in or having to feel a little bit better at night because of your circumstances, or to relax at a social event, maybe you shouldn't be at the social event if like you can't relax. Like, or maybe you need new friends that are like bullying you into having drinks. Like, that was really eye-opening to me. And I'm not against alcohol. But I'm against needing alcohol or not being able to go without alcohol for 28 days. That to me is a problem.
Yeah, I think the right way to use alcohol, if it's in your life, is for a little bit of enjoyment here or there, you know. But the wrong way to use it would be like the self-medicating sort of thing, like you're talking about, like using it to overcome some other deficiency in your life. You know, your job is really stressful and stuff, so you need the alcohol to take the edge off at night and wind down. Or, you know, you don't enjoy the social functions you're going to, so you need the alcohol to get you through it, or, you know, take the edge off, take the pressure off, whatever. That's where people fall into trouble. And yeah, I was actually really surprised by that, because I thought that the way that most people drank was more just for fun. Yeah. And this has opened my eyes to how many people use alcohol. Like, they actually drink 2 or 3 drinks every single night because they feel like they can't relax or can't like just wind down from their day if they don't have that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really surprising to me.
That let's take the conservative route and go 2 a night. Let's just say that. Let's go 12 a week. Let's give them a day off. And there's 52 weeks. 624 drinks in a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you're viewing it as like, I don't have a problem, and you know, it hasn't affected my weight loss or my results. I would argue that maybe, I'm not going to say you have a problem, because you can define it many different ways, but I would say as far as physical results, whether it's getting stronger, getting leaner, losing weight, putting muscle on, increasing testosterone, getting better sleep, if you're consuming 624 drinks a year, that's having a massive impact on you.
Big time. Yeah.
Like massive, to where like you don't even need to analyze the rest of your diet, right? If you fall into this category, you know,
that's the biggest change you can make.
Yeah. How many calories are in a drink? I don't even know. I know
it depends. I mean, you can get a light beer, or you could get a heavy one, or you could have wine.
Is
it like range anywhere from like maybe 80 calories or something up to like, you know,
200
or 400 if it's a cocktail.
We'll go 125. It's 78,000 calories in a year, and we know 1 pound of fat is what, 3,500?
Yeah.
Is that accurate? I'm pretty sure, right, guys? Is that?
Yep.
22 pounds.
Yeah, and most
a year.
Yeah.
I'm not even multiplying that over a decade.
Yep.
And you wonder why people have a beer gut.
Sure.
And alcohol definitely turns into fat more than anything else. I mean, it has to be metabolized by the liver, and a lot of it gets stuck in the liver. That's where you get fatty liver disease. You know, that used to be a condition associated only with alcohol. Now it's associated with some other things in the diet as well. But yeah, it's definitely one of the most problematic things in the diet. And if you're taking in 600 drinks a year, you're not gonna not see negative consequences from that.
Sure.
Yeah. And I would say that if you need, you know, alcohol to kind of unwind, like maybe try walking out in nature. Because I mean, that did wonders for me. I felt great every time that I took a walk and I was just in nature and I was getting some fresh air and exercise and relaxing and unwinding from my day versus sitting on a couch drinking beer, watching television.
And I'll add to that, Ricky. I think more people need healthier hobbies. So whether it's, like you said, walking or exercise, those are obvious, but like even a garden or some kind of like little woodworking thing, or you can find something to help you decompress. It doesn't need to be, you know, 1 or 2 or 3 drinks while cooking dinner or watching TV. Like there's 1,000 things you can do that hopefully one of those you're motivated and inspired by that can help you decompress.
Ricky, I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned this in the blog post, how did the challenge affect your workouts? Because you did notice a slight loss of strength, right? And so maybe you can talk about that just for a second, because that's something that, you know, we do have a lot of people who are kind of gym heads and they are chasing some performance goals in the gym. And so maybe some of those guys will want to know like what that you know, how you dealt with the fact that you knew you'd lose a little bit of strength given some of the things you were doing on this challenge, and, you know, how you overcome that mental hurdle, if it even was one for you.
Oh, it definitely was.
I'm going to run to the back. I got to go to the bathroom real quick, but go for it.
Okay. Yeah, it actually really hurt. Like, because I've always been just like, I want to get bigger, I want to get stronger. And I think that just stemmed from my 17-year bulk, I like to call it.
Yep.
But it was like, I've always just been like that skinny kid.
Yep.
And so I thought maybe just getting stronger and stronger and just pushing myself more and more in the gym would always be the best route.
Sure.
And so I think I was always afraid to do a cut because I was like, man, what if I lose all my gains that I just got? What if I get so skinny and I can't get back to where I got to? Because, you know, I can lose weight, you know, and I don't know, it just worried me. And that's why I think I even mentioned that I had like a body dysmorphia type thing where whenever I look at myself, I always see myself as very, very skinny. And so like looking at the before and after pictures, I was like, holy crap, I was not very skinny. I mean, I was strong, but I wasn't very skinny.
Sure.
And so whenever I was lifting to try to counteract it, I still wanted to do kind of strength training because I've done a lot of research on it. And I feel like doing strength training as you're cutting is actually very beneficial to maintain your strength.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, well, I know what I could do before. I had my, you know, I always record everything. So I knew what my things were before. And I was like, I'm just going to do my best and lift as heavy as I can and try to maintain as long as I can. But I think with the weight loss, because it was so fast, like it was just inevitable. Like I was just like, I was like, most of the time people will cut that amount over like a two-month period or something like that, you know, for like actual bodybuilders and whatnot. And I was like, and I just started noticing almost like a 5-pound decrease almost every week in some of my big lifts. And I was like, it was mentally taxing, I would say. And I noticed that my recovery was going down. And I don't know if it was just from the increase in physical activity, but like where I used to be, or just the lack of fat, you know, that I had to maybe consume if I was pushing myself harder. I don't really know what contributed to it. And maybe you guys would have some insight to that. But I definitely noticed as I was getting leaner and leaner every week, I noticed that I was finding it harder to recover and I needed to take more recovery days. So it was actually, I think around week 3, I took Wednesdays and Saturdays as recovery days, where normally I would only take like a Sunday as a recovery day.
You know, what's interesting to that is I think, and this could be some of it, you added 10 miles. And I know it was just walking, but that's quite an increase from the sedentary piece with your job. And like you had said, you know, what you were doing prior. That makes a little sense to me in along with, you know, not a calorie deficit, but just a change in physical stress, you know, the fasting, you know, it was a change. And so my guess would be, Ricky, is that if you stayed at the weight you were at the end of the EasyFit challenge, or maybe even 5 pounds more, and kept doing all 3, you would get your strength back. You know,
yeah, I think that's true too.
Yeah. I know you didn't lose a ton of strength, right? You lost a percentage.
Right. I lost maybe 15 pounds on some of my lifts. So the fact that I've lost so much weight, you know, I lost 15 pounds, but yeah, I lost about 15 pounds of, I guess, strength. Like, I don't know how to phrase it, I guess.
Well, maybe your strength to weight ratio is as much as it was before, or possibly even higher now.
Oh,
yeah, I would have to do that math and see. But yeah, I definitely think that if I continue this, like I plan to only gain maybe another 2 to 5 pounds back, like you were saying, after the challenge. And I want to see how sustaining that really does affect. And affect everything. And I started doing more like hypertrophy type work
Mhm.
versus my strength training.
Mhm.
And so I'm trying to see how that affects things as well.
Mhm. 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 Very interesting.
Something I was kind of curious, what you think someone could do. Now we've got our rules for this challenge, and that's all you have to do, and that's perfectly effective as it is. I'm wondering if you wanted to say anything about anything that you would do to make the challenge even more effective. If someone like really wanted to maximize the results.
Mm-hmm.
So like, for example, what I'm thinking of with you is there are a couple places where you went kind of above and beyond, like you did more fasting than what was required because you wanted to make it a true 24 hour, or well, a true 1 day fast, like you said. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes your fast, instead of going 24 hours, you went like 36, I believe.
It was like 40 something hours.
Or 40 hours, yeah. So you went actually a little beyond what someone would have to do for the fasting period.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, on top of that, I remember you saying that with the walking, you know, our only rule was that you needed to walk 10 miles a week. But you said maybe people should look at it as 10 additional miles to what they had previously done. So if you're someone who already walks 5 miles a week, you're not just adding another 5, you're adding 10 to that.
Right.
And I think you even went a little bit further with that. Like you were walking 2 miles a day. So that added up to like 14 miles a week, which is a little more than the challenge requires.
Right. And I think, so that's what kind of made it easier for me, because I made it more of a habit.
Yep.
You know, versus like, I could be like, oh man, I have to get 10 miles in. And then you kind of like, you get 1 mile in one day, 3 a next day. And then you get by to the weekend and you're like, oh man, I only did like 4 miles. Now I got to try to do 6 miles in 2 days.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like, so I tried to make it more of a habit by doing the 2 miles a day. And if I exceeded it, great. You know, I wasn't stressing about it.
Right.
It was just like, oh, I know that it's only 30 minutes. If I wanted to, I could eat for 15 minutes, walk 15 minutes during my lunch. And then when I got home, take my dog for like a walk or something like that. But like you said, I really think it's important to do it on top of what you're already doing. So if you're already doing nothing, then yeah, I think the 10 miles a week would be fine for you, or 14, whatever you want to do. But if you were lifting in the gym and then you're like, oh, instead of lifting in the gym, I'm going to just do 10 miles a week. It's like, no, you should. Or if you're like a marathon runner and you're like, okay, yeah, I ran, 30 miles today. I'm good for the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not the point of the challenge. The point is to get 10 more miles or whatever over what you were doing prior.
Yep. Yeah.
With the fast, I think it's important to try to make sure you get a 24-hour deficit. And I think a lot of people would benefit from not binging right after the 24 hours. So let's say you had just, your normal, your normal life, you eat, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And, yesterday you had for dinner, steak, potatoes, and green beans. I don't know, something like that. Then whenever, you fast for that next day, come dinner time, you eat a typical dinner, whatever you were going to eat. It could be, meatloaf, potatoes, and green beans. Apparently that's all I ever ate as a kid, was some sort of meat, potatoes, and green bean. But it's like, don't binge after and be like, oh man, I fasted for 24 hours. Let me go eat this tub of ice cream and go get McDonough's and go get, and then eat my dinner, So I think that would be another huge tip in order to really make the challenge as effective as it should be. And the liquids, I would just say, make sure you focus on how much water you're drinking. I made sure that I was drinking a gallon of water a day, just to ensure that I was staying as hydrated as I possibly could, which was, I think it was a little bit more than what I used to be doing prior to the challenge.
Okay.
So I would just say, make sure, it's not even probably that important, but make sure you still are drinking something, like drink water or your coffee, and just try to stay hydrated.
That's a good point, because I know a lot of people don't love drinking water if that's not already a habit of theirs. and we're trying to get you to drink more. So if we tell people you're only drinking, water, black coffee, and tea, I could see a lot of people just not drinking enough because they're like, well, I don't really love those things. And then they end up kind of dehydrated through the challenge. So not only is it drink water, tea, and black coffee, but make sure that you get an appropriate amount of water, water specifically out of those three. So maybe making sure that you take in, like you were shooting for about a gallon a day, which is great. But, some people only drink whatever, a couple water bottles a day at most. And maybe like they should increase that to, 4, 5, 6 glasses of water a day, 8 glasses, whatever, but making sure that in the right
so
amount.
It's like, I guess like if you're used to drinking, let's say 2 bottles of water a day, and then at every meal you have some sort of like soda or a beer or whatever it is.
Yep.
Maybe you should just have a glass of water at those meal times.
Yeah. Think about how many, if you're doing this challenge, maybe think about how many non-water drinks you typically drink. Like if you're a 2 cans of Diet Coke drinker a day, swap those out for 2 big glasses of water. So you're still taking in the same amount of liquid you used to. You're just making it water instead. Don't eliminate those 2 or 3 cans of soda and not replace them with water and just end up dehydrated.
Right.
Yeah.
Because, water retention, it's kind of like the reverse effect. The more you drink, the less you'll retain.
Yep.
But if you don't drink enough, your body's like, I'm not getting enough. So when you do get it, it holds on to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I love this about the challenge, the fact that it's great the way that it is, but if you want to, you can always add a couple extra miles of walking. I mean, we know people who did 15 miles a week or 20 miles a week because they just enjoyed it. The fasting, if you want to do the 1 24-hour fast a week, great. But if you want to make it a 36, you can always do that. It's really cool that you can kind of do a little bit extra if you want to on the challenge to like kind of speed up results.
Yeah, and one thing I'll put out there, Andy, that was a good point to bring up, was we added in an option with the fasting because in the beginning a lot of people were intimidated with 24 hours straight, which we understand, especially if you're brand new to that. So people are able to choose. They can do the 24 hours once a week or 2 days per week for the 4 weeks and 16-hour fasts. So 2 16-hour fasts per week. And that's still getting them, what would you say, about 8 hours of true, they're in a true fasted state 8 hours per week, because anything over the 12 hours is in that one zone there. So if you are intimidated or, hearing these extended fasts, give the 16 hours a shot. And that can be a really good place to jump off of maybe for the next time you do it, to then go into the 24 or longer.
It'd be a nice on-ramp for people where if they're doing the challenge for 4 weeks, maybe the first week they do the 2 16-hour fasts and they say, okay, that went well. Maybe next week I'll try the 24-hour,
Cool. I guess we'll keep this rated about an hour. Ricky, any last words or tips or anything I know we've spilled the beans on most of it. So anything else out there or nothing?
I mean, I would just say, do your best to stick to the challenge. And if you do that and you just try to make it more of like life habits and ways to better yourself, then I think you're going to see the results. Like I think we just, if you stick to what we did, you're almost guaranteed to lose 10 to 15 pounds in just a month. And it's not like life-changing things. We're not talking like you have to drink some toxic water, like some lemon and cayenne pepper water the whole month. We're not trying to kill you. It's just add a little bit more than what you were doing prior.
Beauty and the simplicity of it.
For sure. And so this is going to air after July 5th. That's in 3 days from when we're recording this, but that's when we're starting the next round for people listening. They can jump in at any time. We have a Facebook group. I can put that Facebook group in the link, the show description below. And then also I'm going to post the blog post for Ricky's breakdown of his results We had many success stories, but there's another one on there, Jamie Evans, that had phenomenal before and after pictures.
Yep.
Felt amazing. She said she had years of acne, and that was gone after this challenge. Like she was on antibiotics, like a routine antibiotic for that, and blown away how she felt. And so it's not just Ricky, it was a lot of people, but she's going to be on there also. So we really want people just to explore those pages and give it a shot. You have nothing to lose.
And Josh, maybe you can mention, or Ricky, how people can use the hashtags to kind of show us the results and kind of share their story with us as they do this. What hashtags are we looking for on social media posts or Instagram or whatever?
Yes.
It's hashtag what? EasyFit or
EasyFit challenge.
And then hashtag co-movement.
Yep. Just those two things, and you just post a picture. It doesn't have to be a before and after picture if you don't want it to be. You know, I really highly encourage taking that for yourself, so you can see your own improvements. If you feel like posting it after, great. But I think we just try to encourage people to take any photos, whether it's like you out for a walk, you know, or an empty plate even. You can take a picture of an empty plate on the day you fast, but just take a picture like once a week and hashtag EasyFit challenge and co-movement.
Perfect. And invite family or friends to do it with you.
Yes. So much easier when you have a team.
For sure. Cool. All right, we'll wrap this up. If you're interested in being a show guest or sponsoring a show or a client of Co-Movement, whether online or in person, let us know. info@co-movement.com. And if that's it, we'll sign off and we'll see everyone next week.
Awesome. See you guys.
See ya.
Bye, guys.